wanted to do a video to talk a bit about time in life and the recovery journey. So in our lives, we tend to presume that there's a lot more time coming ahead because we think, oh, I'm going to live X amount of years. So therefore, I can expect to do ... in that time. So today I've got enough time to do this. And then we sort of plan how long we've got, but we haven't necessarily got that time. Often to remind myself of the shortness of life, and also as a sort of mindful thing to sort of live in the moment and to bring myself back into the awareness of reality of life, as if I put my finger here and I feel the sort of eye socket in the skull and remind myself, oh, there's a skeleton. I'm in this skeleton. And when I feel that, and I feel my eye socket or the bridge of my nose, so I can remind myself, that's a skull and I'm in the skeleton, and I think I'm on this rock floating through outer space for this limited period of time. I'm one of many humans that have lived on this rock. So many, obviously, of all the others have died in the past. And then I picture all those skeletons and the people that have died and all in the past. And then I think, life is really short. You've got to approach life like if you do have big dreams of things that you really want to do, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to do that, and this doesn't make you a better person for that. But if you do have dreams like that, you have to be realistic and think, well, how much am I going to have to do in that time frame? I'm not talking about burning yourself out with all this modern nonsense that you see on social media of sleep less if you want to be a success. I mean, people have got to, you want to live your life and be happy. That I just posted the fisherman's parable on Twitter, talking about how you adjusting your life so you're living how you want to live now, instead of constantly focus on a place to get to and thinking only when I get there then I can do this, because most of the things we want to do in the now we can do. I mean, even somebody who's very, very wealthy still can only eat one meal at a time. So our lives don't change as much as we think, and if you actually really think about what we like and enjoy in life, most of those needs are covered, regardless of level of success. I mean, eating food, whatever you're into, listening to music, hobby, going to the cinema, relationship, having sex, maybe going on a holiday or sitting in the garden in the sun. If you live in England, the sun's not great, but I'm saying, you know where I'm coming from in terms of the just general needs. So if we put that into perspective and we say, like, bring ourselves into the moment and then think of time, we've got to be realistic. If we're trying to do certain things, then we've got to think, well, I have to do a lot more of these things to get to this certain position, but at the same time learning to live in the now and have that balance. We've got to be realistic. People are often not realistic and sort of, when struggling with OCD, sort of zone out, watch Netflix, lie on our back with the laptop. I did all this for a long time, just because that's the only place where you think you can be comfortable enough to just function. But the problem with that is you end up in a situation whereby you're actually just existing. Most humans do that. Most humans are just existing, regardless of OCD. Like, you're just sort of going about life in this pattern of habits. Just get up, work, Netflix, bed. Get up, work, gym, Netflix, bed. Get up, go to this, do that. And it's like, is that all you want? Or do you want more? Do you want to do different things? What do you want to do? How will you achieve those things? Okay, what will you need to fill in the time? Because you can't bank on the future being there and the number of years you need. So you've got to be realistic with the time. Now, that is directly the case for OCD recovery. If you're going, I'll read the books in a couple of weeks, I'll work on recovery and do those exposures after my college finishes. No, that's not going to happen. There's going to be something else. Okay? You are going to have to get uncomfortable. You are going to have to be realistic on what you're trying to achieve in time frame. If you really want to make 2022, and don't put a deadline on it and say, right, 2022, I'm going to recover. I don't want any anxiety anymore. I want to be completely better and I want it all over. Well, OCD is going to dig its heels in and cling on. But if you want to realistically, rationally and calmly say, okay, well, I really want to make huge improvement in 22 and hopefully recover in 2022. But if it doesn't happen, so be it. I'll keep working and I will do the best I can to recover. But I'm going to really try and put in the work now. That's a great outlook because you're going to be proactive, okay? You really don't want to approach it like most people do, including me, in a lot of the early years of the journey, is just sort of picking up the book, browsing. Oh, there's another book that talks about OCD, picking it up, browsing a little bit. And then, oh, I didn't feel a relief. Oh, I didn't get a sudden release. Oh, I didn't get that. And that's how we're used to thinking today. If you think of these things like TikTok and so on, it's just scroll, instant. And where's that getting us if that's not sort of proactive in the right way? There's so much nonsense if you go on social media. If you just went on TikTok and you looked up some sort of financial advice stuff today, you hear things like people saying cash is rubbish, take out the biggest loan possible, go all in on everything. Terrible advice for young people. Instead, you want to be teaching people, yes, take risks, but don't put everything in one thing because you could lose everything, and don't leverage yourself so that if things go wrong, you're so leveraged, you're wiped out. I mean, this is just this instant idea of being sort of like everything instant, and all these stories of people being successful, making lots of money on social media. Young people think, oh my God, look at this, and I've got to take this risk, and I might as well go all in on this. And this is very dangerous because we need to be rational. Yes, taking risks is key, but we need to have a balance. And that's the same with OCD recovery. We need to go along and say, okay, we're not going to get all our exposures done in one day. As I often say to people, you're not going to learn French in one day. You wouldn't go into a French course and say, right, I want to learn French in one day. Give me the book. I'm going to read it tonight and get it finished. No, you wouldn't do that. And that's the same with OCD recovery. And it would be the same with building a business, saving money, being an athlete, raising a family. They're not instant. They are all gradual processes. Now, I don't want to go off on a tangent talking about social media financial advice, so that's not an area that I'm covering. I'm just talking about things that I see people coming in all the time with, have a lot to do with financial anxiety and fears to do with that, and just lots of the information today is really bad because it's all about this just instant fix and instant that, and I think it's really important to realize that the ideas that we think that we need to be happy, like let's take anyone's idea, which is like a lot of people might have the idea they want to be famous. They want to be famous because they want everyone to know who they are, and usually because of conditional self-acceptance, they'll feel like they are more of a person if they're really known, and then they'll like themselves more, which is a recipe for disaster when it doesn't happen, because then they'll like themselves less, and so on. You learn to break that down with unconditional self-acceptance, and then you start to see the world very differently. Oh, if I don't achieve that, I still like myself just as much. That's a good, robust approach, because then you're not sort of in the roller coaster of emotions, depending on outside forces, how life can go. So if we look at life like this, and we look at the situations and things that can happen, we realize that, hey, can I still eat my food tonight? And this is a good grounding yourself for life adversities in daily life. And things that I always think of, like if I have an adversity, which all humans, we will have adversities. I say, can I eat my dinner? Can I see my family? Can I still go to the gym? Can I still go on a date? Can I still listen to music? And can I do those things? Now, of course, acceptance, even if you can't do those things, gets under it and you can be at peace. But it's good to ground ourselves, because otherwise we have ideas that when they don't come off, like, for example, you may have a holiday planned and then your holiday doesn't happen, or you may have an injury. Now, that's specifically something that I'm going through at the moment, not very badly, but I have a slightly injured neck from the gym, and I have had it on and off with the damaged disc in my neck, and I think, I could just work out this way before, or I could just work out that way before. And then what I say to myself is, well, actually, I can still work out and do things compared to somebody who can't do any of the upper body movements. So that's great. But I might not be able to do to the level that I wanted to do, or I really want to do right now. But I can still do all these other things. And that's great, because we ground ourselves in those situations when they're happening. And then we're realistic with time. I think, I've got an injury, but I can still do this, and I can do that now. I don't need to do all that stuff. I can be just as happy. Our happiness comes from our perspective, like through Stoicism, which we're talking about all the time here, and changing our perspectives on adversities. And that's the same with getting things that we want too. You don't need to be a celebrity to be happy, because if that was true, we'd see only happy celebrities and all other humans unhappy. Well, we know that that's not the case, and often, and usually, the reverse of that. Because we need to show ourselves that the things that actually make us happy in life as we go along are things that usually are connecting with other people. Of course, OCD is going to latch that. Well, if you can't connect, we can get under that too. But I'm saying connecting with other people, doing things with other people that we enjoy, or being actively involved in a passion of something we like. Those kind of things. But we've got to, at the same time where I was talking about time, realize that we do have time and got to take our time, but we also at the same time need to be realistic with what we're trying to achieve. So we need to say, right, OCD is going to be difficult, recovery is going to be challenging, I'm going to have to be persistent, I'm going to have to be proactive, I'm going to have to take this one day at a time. And I will get there through the journey. And even if I'm anxiety 20, 30, 40%, I can still get a lot done. Even on some of my worst days, I was still able to go to the cinema, see my friends, go to the gym and enjoy those things in the presence of enjoying the activities being completed and done, even while suffering. You can actually still be happy and content, happy while suffering. You can. That's what people don't think. They think, oh, I need to be anxiety free. And then they imagine recovery journey to be something that when you get to the other side, it's a rainbow and it's like a heavenly like state where you're happy all the time. Well, that ain't the case. I can tell you that now, because the human condition, we're naturally not going to be happy. Whether you have X amount of money, if you're the richest person in the world, they're not smiling ear to ear. They've got another challenge. They've got a family problem. Whether you're the best athlete in the world, you're not going to be happy all the time. We can just look at them and see the situations, because the human condition is always going to find problems. You have other problems come to the forefront, not the thing you're scared about from the past event or the relationship OCD. Other problems come about. There's other things. They start coming up the stacker. So if you imagine there's a sort of stacker of priority of jobs, and then like at the top of that stacker is like ROCD if it's latched, and then you've got all the other things. And then as ROCD comes down that stacker of importance in the brain, then the other things come to the top. And with OCD, it's always telling us like, this is the most important. You need an answer now. Do not notice this. So once that sort of stacker moves about, then we can see what's going on, and we can already see what's going on, but it just becomes more aware of that. So you're never going to be completely happy, and happiness in life, you're going to have frustrations, you're going to have difficult times, you're going to have great times, you're going to have a mixture. So the key is to be really balanced and think long term. So the more balance you can get and the more content you can with the things you're going through, and then take things a one day at a time approach, that really sets you up well for life in all areas of life, because then you're able to pace things out. You're able to go along gradually. You're able not to panic in the moment and throw yourself off course, because everything, whether it's a business, whether it's working out to get into a particular shape that you want to, whether or it's to recover from OCD or to build a family or whatever thing you're thinking of, these things are all persistence, one day at a time, building to get to that position. And when you're there, you're not going to be endlessly happy. If you had the dream house or whatever, you're going to have a problem with the house, you're going to have something broken, something you don't like, want to move, whatever, divorce, anything. And so there's always going to be things changing. So it's about pacing yourself, and it's about realistic with time, not thinking to yourself, is Netflix getting me further in my life? Is it, apart from the good feeling I'm getting, is it getting me the results that I want? And usually the answer is no. And so you've got to ask yourself, right, I've got to prioritize things. How am I going to get there if I'm spending X amount of time doing this? If I'm doing no work on recovery, how do I expect to recover? So you've got to get those priorities on time right, and you've got to do things one day at a time, gradual, focusing on the goal that you're going towards, whilst realizing that you can still be happy and content now, but you have goals for the extra bonuses and benefits they bring, but doing that in a gradual sort of manner, one day at a time, and sort of thinking longer term, and not needing, I need this to be happy. Well, actually you don't. Somebody else thinks right now that what you've got, they need to be happy, right? And often if they're maybe in pain with a very nasty injury, that may be very difficult, and they do dream of this moment. So we're taking not for granted the position we're in now. And it's even with OCD suffering, and don't get me wrong, it feels really, 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 really bad. I'm aware of that. But even when we get those moments of, hey, it's not that so bad, and then appreciating that, not trying to cling to that. And just at this point, when you're in suffering, you don't want to be too much focused on need to be happy and need to be feeling relaxed. Just think on what can I achieve whilst in that position? Can I still move towards my goals? What recovery work can I get done? What can I make my life, how can I make my life structure better and be more proactive in those areas? So all those steps bit by bit add up to form the journey. And so early on in the journey, I tell people to take the focus more of happiness and more on sort of what we can achieve and do just for the sake of fulfilling those functions. And then as we come along, happiness seeps into into our mind bit by bit by bit as we're coming along that journey. Okay, so happiness is a moving target. It moves, and once you try and cling to it, and once we try and latch to it and try and pull it, it then slips through our fingers. So we've got to come along that journey. We've got to go through the steps. We've got to work through it gradually, and then we get there. Hopefully, working through those steps in any area of life we're trying to get to, in any of those areas that I mentioned. Hopefully, those things work out. So yeah, I just wanted to talk a bit about time. And I'll be talking about different other areas of the journey, which I think are important. People often say to me in DMs, they say, Rob, please can you talk about other areas of life, not just OCD? I don't know if people want to hear that. If you do, put that in the comments below, and I'm happy to talk about other areas of life in relation to anxiety, in relation to general life of humans, and what areas of life people want to hear about in relation to things to do with being rational and changing our perspective. And I will cover those because people say, yeah, I want to hear more. Can you help me more with sort of like exam related stress? Can you help me more with financial related stress? All these things. I don't want to go too far off topic. I specialize in obviously in OCD. That's what I'm doing, but I'm happy to help cover some of those areas where there's anxiety related to those areas. So yeah, absolutely. I will try and get that covered. Please like and subscribe to our channel. When you like this video, it gets us more awareness on YouTube, so we get noticed more, so it can raise OCD awareness and help people get the right knowledge to recover from OCD. Guys, great to see you all. I'll see you on the next video. Take it easy.